let me just say this, and we'll talk about it some more next week. When you're holy, there's no way at all, it's impossible for the world to get to you. Impossible for your husband or your kids or the cat or the dog or any of that. And the reason for that is because your nature now is that of God. And God's nature is holy. And that fallen Satan's nature is unholy, right? And so your nature is his nature. But once you forgive, he brings you back to perfection, to perfectness, to his perfect love. Then you know you're holy. And it's not you that's holy, but it's the Father that you serve. You are his son or daughter. And you don't hold grudges, and you don't judge, and you're not afraid, and you're honest, and you speak up. And like when you were saying that my words are insulting, right? But I'm not thinking of insulting words at all. It's the truth. And it's to wake you up if you accept it. And the reason I bring that up, because I get all these nasty emails and things from people, from Christians. You can't be holy. Only God is holy. No one is holy. And in the Bible, even in 1 Peter, it says, be holy as I'm holy. Be perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect. But Christians don't believe that you can be that way. And the reason they don't believe it, because they have been told that you could be a Christian and still sin. That's why they don't believe it. Because they are still sinning, and sinners are not holy. Matter of fact, you're enslaved to your sin. But once you wake up, you will become holy as your Father is holy. If he's your daddy and you have his nature, why wouldn't you be holy? You're created in your Father's image. Does that make sense? Let me take here and then Cheryl, real fast.
Sorry. Just to help me understand, what is sinning? Like, what is a sin?
That's a good question. Joel, I want to answer real fast. Everybody know Joel? The audio engineer, and he has his own business now. He has a dance academy.
Yes.
What is sin? So she shows up at your dance academy, and just before she make the first payment, she asks you, what is sin? And it's determined if she continues to make the payment.
Anger is the sin.
Judgment is the sin. When you have anger, you're sinning. Because you're judging, you're playing God. That's the sin. The sin is not the alcohol. The sin is not the pot. The sin is not having sex out of wedlock. The sin is the judgment, playing God. And then once you stop doing that, and then all these things you picked up in order to try to get rid of the guilt, because that's the only reason you're having sex out of wedlock. That's the only reason you're on drugs or alcohol or lying, because you're guilty. You know, you have conflict, and you're trying to feel better because you've been separated from God. That's not the sin. And a lot of people think it's the alcohol and all that's the sin. And so you tell yourself, oh, I don't drink anymore. The Lord saved me from drinking. But you don't see that you went from drinking to something else to feel better. The sin is the hatred, the resentment, the anger, which is all the same. And it separates you from God to be your own God. That's what it means to be born again, to drop the anger, to forgive, stop playing God. Really. Yes, Cheryl.
When you say Christians think they can sin and still be Christians, it's almost like you just read out of the Bible, and they believe in the Bible.
Right.
They say.
Yes.
But it's almost like they don't believe God when he says something, and yet they purport to serve him.
It's funny how they leave out all the good stuff. Be holy is left out. Be perfect is left out. Don't sin is left out. All who sin are slaves to sin. If you say you know God, in the Bible says, if you say you know me and you sin, you are a liar and the truth is not in you. For this reason Christ came, that you might not sin. Sin is of your father the devil. They leave all that out, and then they bring in, pray to God for more money. One day you're going to be better. When you get to heaven, it's going to all work out. And they're making you suffer. Why would I want, if I had to wait till I get to heaven to have peace, I might as well just sin all the way up until I'm about to die and go, oh, God, I'm sorry. But it doesn't even make sense. God wants us to have paradise right here on earth. The kingdom of heaven is within us. And if you drop the anger by forgiving, you can be free. You have paradise right here on earth.
They don't believe it because they're dependent on themselves. They
Well,
don't
they've been
depend on
lied to.
God.
The preacher have told them that you can sin.
That's why they think, oh, no, there's no way I can stop sinning, because they are not believing God. They're
Right.
thinking
they don't
I can
have
stop
faith in
sinning,
him at
but
all.
it's not about
Well, just
them.
think about this, and then I gotta go. What if let's say I'm a son of Satan, right? I'm in a fallen state. I have conflict, worry, insecurity. I'm looking for love. I have fear. I have doubt. I have worry. I'm a beta male with my wife. And then I hear about, oh, Jesse, here's a God that can help you. You go to him, you could be free from all that. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. I'll give this guy a try, right? And then I go to him and I have the same problems. Nothing changed. Why would I even bother to switch from one creature to another one? That's not even logical. Why would you want to go to a God that's supposed to save you from all this, but yet you have the same problems? And then you start making up excuses about the problems. Does that make sense? If it's the same God, and then you got to say, well, one day it'll get better, or something. They make up stuff. Satan give them excuses. So did that make sense?
Yes, I have one more.
Okay.
So, like you have the 10 Commandments. So if I were to break a 10 Commandments, am I sinning, or is the anger?
You suffer. You bring your suffering upon yourself. But you're not going to be able to keep the commandments until you have the Father and his strength in you to cause you to keep the commandments. You can't keep the 10 Commandments on your own. And the reason that when we keep the commandments, we have a good life. We're not cheating, we're not lying, we're not stealing, we're not whatever it says, right? Because now you have perfect love and you don't break those laws and you just have a good life. But you can't keep the 10 Commandments until you come back to the source that gives you the insight to do it. And that's God. That makes sense? Have you ever tried to keep the 10 Commandments?
I feel bad, but I don't know all of them. But I think for the most part, I followed them all.
You tried to keep them?
Yes.
But you weren't able to. Were you able to?
I think like the first 3 are probably the hardest. You know.
The first 3 are the hardest.
Right?
What
Like
are the first 3?
Wait, isn't it like the put God above
Yeah,
all?
love God with all your, yeah.
And I
Well,
think
if you
that,
can't do that, you can't do any of them.
Yeah.
That's why he's first, so he can help you do it. All right?